The alarm started screaming at exactly 14:32, Earth Standard Time. Commander Jake Miller dropped his coffee cup and ran toward the main observation deck of Kepler Station. The hot liquid splashed across the metal floor, but he did not care. Something was happening outside, and it was big, through the thick glass windows that protected the station from space. Jake saw them. Ships unlike anything in human records were appearing out of nowhere. They did not use normal jump drives or warp signatures that human sensors could detect. They just appeared like someone had turned on a light switch in the darkness of space. Gar. Lisa Park burst through the doors behind him. Her hair was messy and her lab coat had strange stains on it from whatever experiment she had been running. Lisa was the best xenobiologist on the station and probably in the entire human space program. If anyone could figure out what these ships were, it would be her. Jake, are you seeing this? Lisa pressed her face against the window. 12 different ship designs. 12 different energy signatures. These are not from the same species. Jake nodded and activated his communication device. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Unknown vessels have entered our space without permission. The ships arranged themselves in a perfect circle around Earth's orbital infrastructure. Kepler Station was the largest human outpost. In orbit, but it looked like a toy compared to these massive alien vessels. The smallest ship was easily 3 times the size of anything humans had ever built. Captain Ryan Hayes arrived on the observation deck within minutes. He was breathing hard from running through the station corridors. Ryan was the military commander of Kepler Station and had been trained for situations like this. But training was different from the real thing. Report, Ryan said as he looked out at the alien fleet. Lisa pointed at her handheld scanner. The crystalline ships are giving off energy readings that are off the charts. They look like they are made of some kind of living crystal. The bioships are actually alive, Ryan. I can detect heartbeats and neural activity from here. Jake studied the formation through binoculars. The geometric ones are the strangest. They keep changing shape. My eyes hurt when I look at them directly. More alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Human personnel ran through the corridors trying to reach their assigned positions. Everyone knew this day might come, but nobody had expected it to. Happen like this? Dr. Kevin Stone arrived with a team of physicists. Kevin was short and wore thick glasses, but his brain was one of the sharpest in human space. He immediately started setting up equipment to analyze the alien ships. The physics readings are impossible, Kevin said after a few minutes of work. These ships are violating several laws of physics that we thought were absolute. The crystalline vessels are somehow converting matter directly into energy without any waste products. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez entered the observation deck. She was the head of human diplomatic relations and had been hoping to make first contact with aliens under better circumstances. Claire was calm under pressure and spoke 7 human languages fluently. If humanity needed someone to talk to aliens, she was the best choice. Any communication attempts? Claire asked. Ryan shook his head. We have been broadcasting on all frequencies for 20 minutes. Universal mathematical sequences, prime numbers, basic physics, constants, nothing. Commander Nina Brooks joined them from the military section. Nina was responsible for the defense systems of Kepler Station. The weapons were designed to handle pirates and small threats. They would be useless against this kind of fleet. Our defensive systems are online, but they might as well be slingshots against these ships, Nina reported. I have never seen energy signatures this powerful. Lisa continued scanning the alien vessels. The bioships are fascinating. They appear to be grown rather than built. The hulls are made of some kind of organic material that can survive in space. The neural activity suggests they might be intelligent. Jake watched through his binoculars as smaller ships began moving between the larger vessels. They are coordinating something. Look at the way they are positioning themselves. Suddenly, every communication device on the station activated at once. A sound filled the air that was unlike anything humans had ever heard. It was not quite music and not quite speech, but somehow everyone, understood that the aliens were trying to communicate. The universal translator systems that humans had developed for theoretical first contact scenarios activated automatically. The sounds became words in clear English. Primitive species of the third planet from your star, you have been selected for evaluation by the Galactic Consortium. Your continued existence as a spacefaring civilization depends on proving your worth to the established galactic community. The message continued in the same emotionless tone. You have 72 hours to demonstrate why your species deserves to survive and expand beyond your home system. Representatives from 12-member civilizations of the consortium will judge your worthiness based on technological advancement, cultural development, and potential threat assessment. Jake felt his stomach drop. This was not first contact. This was a trial. Failure to meet consortium standards will result in immediate containment of your species to your home system. Further expansion into galactic space will be prevented by whatever means necessary. The evaluation begins now. The communication ended and silence returned to the observation deck. Everyone stared out at the alien ships that now surrounded their world like judges in a cosmic courtroom. Claire was the first to speak. We need to contact Earth immediately. The World Council needs to know what is happening. Ryan was already working on secure communications. All channels to Earth are being monitored by the alien ships. They are not blocking our communications, but they are definitely listening to everything. Kevin looked up from his instruments. The energy signatures are stable. They are not charging weapon systems. This appears to be exactly what they said it is, an evaluation. Lisa continued studying the bioships through her scanner. The organic vessels are responding to our emotions. I think they can sense fear, excitement, curiosity. They might be empathic. Nina checked her weapon systems again. Should we consider this a hostile action? They entered our space without permission and are making threats? Jake considered their options. They have not attacked. They have not demanded surrender. They want to evaluate us. Maybe this is our chance to prove that humanity belongs among the stars. Claire nodded. We need to prepare for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. Everything our species has worked for comes down to the next 72 hours. Outside the station windows, the alien ships waited in their perfect formation. 12 civilizations had come to judge humanity. The question was whether humans could prove they were worthy of joining the galactic community, or if they would be trapped forever in their own solar system. The makeshift diplomatic chamber on Kepler Station had never been designed for something like this. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez stood at the center of the room facing 3 alien representatives who had materialized through some kind of transportation technology that human science could not explain. The air itself seemed to shimmer with energy from their presence. The first being called itself Velter and appeared to be made entirely of living crystal. Its body caught the station lights and split them into rainbow patterns that danced across the walls. When it spoke, the sound seemed to come from everywhere at once rather than from any specific mouth or speaking organ. Your species has existed for approximately 200,000 years according to our records, Velter said through the universal translator. In that time, you have barely managed to leave your home planet. Most successful civilizations achieve interstellar travel within 50,000 years of developing intelligence. The second representative was even more unsettling. Keeper Thane was a flowing mass of what looked like living liquid metal. It constantly changed shape and seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. When it moved, Claire could see glimpses of internal organs or maybe machinery floating within its silvery substance. We have observed your entertainment broadcasts, Thane said with a voice that sounded like water flowing over rocks. Violence appears to be a central theme in your culture. Your stories celebrate war and conflict. Your games simulate killing and destruction. This suggests a dangerous mindset for a spacefaring species. The third alien was the most disturbing of all. The Vorthek delegate had no name that humans could pronounce and appeared to exist in several dimensions at once. Looking directly at it made Claire feel dizzy and nauseous. Its edges seemed to fold in on themselves in ways that hurt to think about, Dr. Kevin Stone tried to present humanity's scientific achievements. He had prepared holographic displays showing fusion reactors, quantum computers, and the first human colonies on Mars and Europa. Kevin spoke passionately about human curiosity and the drive to explore and understand the universe. Velter's crystalline form flickered with what the translator rendered as mild interest. Fusion technology is achieved by most species within their first 1,000 years of civilization. Your quantum systems are primitive compared to consciousness-based computing. Your colonies represent basic survival instincts rather than true expansion. Commander Nina Brooks stepped forward with displays of human cooperation. She showed images of the United Earth Government international space programs and global efforts to address climate change and poverty. Nina believed that humanity's ability to work together, despite differences, was their greatest strength. Keeper Thane's liquid metal body rippled with what might have been amusement. Your unity is recent and fragile. Our records show continuous warfare throughout your history. The cooperation you display now appears to be motivated by external threats rather than genuine evolution beyond violent tendencies. Dr. Lisa Park presented her research on human adaptability and diversity. She explained how humans had evolved to survive in different environments and how this made them excellent candidates for exploring diverse planetary systems. Lisa hoped that the aliens would see human flexibility as an asset. The Vorthek delegate pulsed with colors that made everyone in the room feel uncomfortable. The translator struggled to render its response as anything more than mathematical concepts about biological inefficiency and genetic randomness. Captain Ryan Hayes tried a different approach. He spoke about human creativity and innovation. Ryan showed examples of human art, music, and literature. He explained how humans used imagination to solve problems and create beauty in a harsh universe. Velter's crystal structure rang like a bell. Artistic expression is common among developing species. It typically represents emotional immaturity and failure to achieve pure logical thinking. Advanced civilizations move beyond such primitive displays. Claire realized that everything humanity considered their best qualities was being dismissed as signs of immaturity or danger. The aliens had seen thousands of species, and by their standards, humans were nothing special. Every achievement that made humans proud was considered primitive by galactic standards. Jake Miller watched the proceedings from the observation deck. Through security cameras, he could see the frustration building in the human representatives. Nothing they said seemed to impress the alien judges. Every human accomplishment was met with condescension or concern. The evaluation continued for hours. The aliens tested human knowledge of physics, mathematics, and engineering. They questioned human social structures, economic systems, and philosophical beliefs. They examined human biology, psychology, and cultural development. Kevin presented the theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. The aliens already knew these concepts and considered them basic principles that any intelligent species should discover. Nina showed human military organization and defensive capabilities. The aliens saw this as evidence of violent tendencies and poor resource management. Lisa explained human reproduction and child-rearing practices. The aliens found human biological processes inefficient compared to their own methods of creating offspring. Claire discussed human ethics and moral systems. The aliens considered human morality to be inconsistent and emotionally based rather than logically derived. As the day progressed, it became clear that humanity was failing every test. The alien representatives grew increasingly dismissive of human capabilities. They spoke among themselves in languages that the universal translator could not handle, leaving the humans to guess at their conversations. Velter finally addressed the human delegation directly. Your species shows some potential for eventual development, but you are currently too immature and dangerous for galactic society. Your violent tendencies, technological primitiveness, and emotional instability make you unsuitable for contact with advanced civilizations. Keeper Thane's liquid form contracted into a more solid shape. We recommend immediate containment to your home system. Your species may be reevaluated in 10,000 years if you survive that long without destroying yourselves. The Vorthek delegate communicated something that the translator could only render as mathematical formulas expressing the probability of human extinction within the next millennium. Claire felt the weight of her entire species resting on her shoulders. Everything humans had ever dreamed of was being taken away by beings who saw them as dangerous children playing with toys. They did not understand. Ryan activated his communication device to contact Earth. The world leaders needed to know that humanity was about to be cut off from the stars before they had barely begun to explore them. But deep in the outer solar system, something was moving that would change everything. The aliens testing humanity had no idea that they were about to meet the real representation of human capability. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, where the darkness of space was broken only by distant starlight, the UES Defiant moved through the void like a ghost. Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge watching the tactical displays that showed the alien fleet surrounding Earth. His weathered hands gripped the railing as he calculated distance and time. The Defiant was unlike any ship that had ever been built. It stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, and its hull was made of materials that seemed to absorb light itself. The ship appeared as a hole in space rather than a solid object. Even the stars behind it seemed dimmer when viewed through its structure. Chief Engineer Maria Santos monitored the exotic matter drives from her station deep within the ship. The engines did not burn fuel or create thrust in any way that normal physics would recognize. Instead, they folded space around the vessel and allowed it to slip between the normal dimensions of reality. The technology was so advanced that even Maria did not fully understand how it worked. "Captain, we are maintaining stealth at maximum efficiency," Maria reported through the communication system. "The metamaterial hull is absorbing all electromagnetic radiation and converting it back into power for our systems. We are completely invisible to conventional sensors." Lieutenant Commander Paul Davis worked at the Stealth Coordination Station. His job was to make sure that nothing the Defiant did would reveal its presence to the alien ships around Earth. Paul had been trained on systems that were decades ahead of anything the public knew about. "All stealth systems operating within normal parameters," Paul announced. "Gravitational dampeners are masking our mass signature. Quantum scramblers are preventing detection by exotic sensors. As far as the universe is concerned, we do not exist." Navigation? Officer Helen Garcia plotted their course through the outer solar system. Helen had to account for gravitational fields, asteroid positions, and the movement of the alien ships, all while keeping the Defiant hidden from detection. It was the most complex navigation challenge any human had ever attempted. Current approach. "Vector will bring us to Earth orbit in 18 hours, Helen reported. "We will arrive during the final phase of the alien evaluation. Timing will be perfect for maximum psychological impact." Captain Turner had been in command of the Defiant for 3 years. He had overseen its final construction in the hidden shipyards of Titan and had taken it on its first voyage to the edge of the solar system. Turner knew that his ship represented humanity's greatest secret and possibly their only hope for survival. The Defiant had been built using technology that humanity was not supposed to possess. 15 years earlier, an alien probe had crashed on Europa during what appeared to be a routine survey mission. The probe had been damaged beyond repair, but its technology was intact enough for human scientists to reverse engineer. Dr. Jennifer Walsh led the science team aboard the Defiant. She had been one of the original researchers who studied the crashed probe on Europa. Jennifer understood the alien technology better than anyone else in the human space program, and had spent years adapting it for human use. The quantum field. "Generators are operating at peak efficiency," Jennifer reported from the science bay. "We are maintaining a stable bubble of altered spacetime around the entire ship. The aliens will not detect us until we choose to reveal ourselves." The bridge crew of the Defiant represented the best and brightest that humanity had to offer. Every person aboard had been selected for their exceptional skills and their ability to keep secrets. The existence of the ship was known only to a few dozen people in the entire human government. Commander Steve Parker monitored the communication systems that were keeping track of the alien evaluation taking place at Kepler Station. Steve could hear every word of the diplomatic proceedings and could see how badly humanity was failing to impress their galactic judges. "The aliens are not impressed with our representatives," Steve reported to Captain Turner. "They consider U.S. primitive and dangerous. The evaluation is not going well." Turner nodded grimly. The diplomatic approach had always been a long shot. The aliens had arrived with preconceived notions about human capabilities, and nothing that ordinary human technology could demonstrate would change their minds. But the Defiant was far from ordinary. Weapons Officer Carl Johnson ran diagnostics on the ship's armament systems. The weapons aboard the Defiant used principles of physics that most human scientists did not even know existed. Carl had trained for years to understand systems that could manipulate matter at the quantum level. "All weapon systems are fully operational," Carl announced. "Cascade particle arrays are charged and ready. Gravity pulse generators are standing by. Quantum disruption fields are stable. We have enough firepower to sterilize a small moon." The Defiant had not been built as a warship, but its defensive systems were more powerful than anything in human history. The weapons were designed to protect the ship from threats that conventional military doctrine could not imagine. They were based on alien technology that treated the laws of physics as suggestions rather than absolute rules. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Susan Clark monitored the biological systems that kept the crew healthy during their journey through folded space. The exotic fields generated by the ship's engines could have harmful effects on human biology without proper protection. Susan made sure that everyone aboard remained safe and functional. "All crew members are showing normal vital signs," Susan reported. "The bioprotective fields are compensating for the effects of exotic radiation. No adverse reactions detected." The crew of the Defiant had been preparing for this moment for years. They had trained in secret facilities and had sworn oaths to protect the greatest military secret in human history. Every person aboard understood that the fate of their species might depend on their actions in the next few hours. Captain Turner studied the tactical display showing the positions of the alien ships around Earth. The visitors had arranged themselves in a perfect formation that demonstrated their confidence and their technological superiority. They had no reason to suspect that humanity possessed anything that could threaten them. "All stations report ready for phase transition," Turner announced to his crew. "We will drop out of stealth mode and announce our presence at precisely the right moment. The aliens are about to discover that they have seriously underestimated the human species." The Defiant continued its silent approach toward Earth, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire civilization. The ship represented years of secret research and development that had produced technology beyond the imagination of most humans. In a few hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity was far more advanced than anyone had suspected. The diplomatic evaluation was entering its final phase when every sensor on every alien ship simultaneously detected something that should not have been possible. Velter's crystalline form flickered with what could only be described as confusion. The Zephyrian war crystals were considered the most advanced detection systems in the galaxy, and they had been monitoring all approaches to the Sol system for 3 days. Nothing could have escaped their notice. Nothing should have been able to approach without being detected from light years away. Yet something was coming, and it was massive. Commander Jake Miller felt Kepler station shake as gravitational waves washed over the orbital facility. The vibrations were unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was as if space itself was being twisted and compressed by some unimaginable force. Through the observation windows, the stars seemed to shift and dance in patterns that made his eyes water. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez was in the middle of making humanity's final plea to the alien judges when the station's emergency alarms began screaming. The red lights that had been flashing for 3 days suddenly changed to a brilliant white that flooded every corridor and chamber. Dr. Lisa Park watched her instruments go completely insane. Every scanner, every detector, every piece of scientific equipment on the station was registering readings that broke the scales. Energy signatures were appearing that were beyond anything in human databases. The numbers on her screens were climbing so high that the displays could not keep up. "Jake, something is happening to space-time itself," Lisa shouted over the alarms. "The gravitational constant is fluctuating. The electromagnetic spectrum is being distorted. This is impossible according to everything we know about physics." Captain Ryan Hayes tried to contact Earth Command but found that all communication channels were being flooded with interference. Whatever was causing the distortions was affecting every form of electromagnetic radiation in the local area. The interference pattern suggested something larger than any ship humans had ever imagined. The alien delegates in the diplomatic chamber had stopped their evaluation completely. Keeper Thane's liquid metal body was contracting and expanding in rapid pulses that suggested extreme agitation. The Vorthak representative was shifting between dimensions so rapidly that it appeared as a blur of impossible geometry. Velter's crystal structure was ringing like a bell with harmonics that hurt human ears. The universal translator was struggling to render its communications as anything more than mathematical formulas, expressing disbelief and growing concern. Dr. Kevin Stone ran to the main sensor array and began taking readings that defied explanation. The exotic matter signatures are off any scale we have ever developed. Whatever is approaching is using technology that manipulates the fundamental forces of the universe in ways that should not be possible. Through the thick windows of the observation deck, space began to ripple like water. The distortion started as a small point of absolute darkness and then expanded outward in concentric waves. The stars behind the distortion seemed to stretch and compress as if they were being viewed through a funhouse mirror. "Commander," Nina Brooks watched her defensive systems register threats that exceeded their ability to categorize. All weapon systems are detecting energy levels that would require the complete conversion of a planet's mass into pure energy. Nothing in our database can produce signatures like this. The distortion in space continued to grow until it covered a significant portion of the starfield visible from the station. Inside the distortion, something was taking shape. It was huge beyond comprehension and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The UES Defiant materialized from folded space like a nightmare made real. The battleship's arrival was heralded by a controlled implosion of space-time that sent shockwaves through every vessel in the system. The ship was nearly 2 kilometers of angular black metal that seemed to exist partially outside normal reality. Jake Miller stared through his binoculars at the impossible sight. The human battleship dwarfed even the largest alien vessels, and its very presence was warping the fabric of space around it. The hull appeared to be made of materials that consumed electromagnetic radiation instead of reflecting it. The alien ships that had been arranged in perfect formation around Earth suddenly found themselves facing something that challenged their understanding of what was technologically possible. The Zephyrian crystalline cruisers, masters of energy manipulation, detected power sources aboard the human vessel that exceeded their own capabilities by orders of magnitude. The bioships of the Nexari began pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated extreme stress and fear. Their organic sensors were registering life signs from the human ship that suggested technologies based on principles they did not recognize. The geometric vessels of the Vorthak Collective, experts in dimensional manipulation, were detecting spatial distortions around the Defiant that surpassed their own mastery of folded space. The human ship was operating on physics principles that even their advanced mathematics could not fully describe. Captain Alex Turner's voice cut through every communication channel in the system with crystal clarity. His words carried the weight of absolute confidence and the authority of someone who knew exactly how powerful his ship was. "All vessels in the Sol system, this is Captain Turner commanding the UES Defiant representing the Earth Defense Force. We are assuming defensive positions around our homeworld. Any hostile action against human assets or personnel will be met with immediate and overwhelming retaliation." The transmission continued with technical specifications that made every alien computer system struggle to process the information. The Defiant was equipped with cascade particle arrays that could disintegrate matter at the subatomic level, gravity pulse generators that could create localized black holes, quantum disruption fields that could phase objects out of existence entirely. Claire Rodriguez realized that everything had changed in an instant. The diplomatic evaluation that had been going so badly was now completely irrelevant. The aliens were no longer judging a primitive species. They were face to face with a civilization that had achieved technological capabilities beyond their own experience. Dr. Jennifer Walsh transmitted detailed technical data about the Defiant's systems to prove that the specifications were not empty threats. The quantum field generators, exotic matter drives, and dimensional manipulation systems were all operating at levels that impressed even the most advanced alien civilizations. The silence that followed stretched across the entire solar system, as 12 advanced galactic civilizations tried to process what they were seeing. The species they had dismissed as primitive and dangerous had just demonstrated technology that redefined what they thought was possible for any civilization. The silence that stretched across the Sol system was unlike anything the galaxy had experienced in thousands of years. 12 advanced civilizations that had mastered interstellar travel and conquered countless worlds found themselves staring at a human battleship that redefined everything they thought they knew about technological possibility. Velter's crystalline form had stopped its constant flickering, and now pulsed with a steady rhythm that the universal translator struggled to interpret. The Zephyrian delegate was accessing databases that contained the accumulated knowledge of 50,000 years of galactic civilization. Nothing in those vast records matched what they were seeing from the human vessel. Keeper Thane's liquid metal body had contracted into its most defensive configuration. The Nexari had encountered thousands of species during their expansion across the galaxy, but none had ever surprised them with technology that exceeded their own understanding. The bioship's organic sensors were registering impossible readings. From the human battleship, the Vorthek representative had stabilized its dimensional shifting and was now existing primarily in normal space. Even beings that lived partially outside conventional reality were impressed by the spatial distortions created by the human ship's exotic matter drives. Captain Alex Turner opened a communication channel that reached every vessel in the system. His voice was calm and measured, but carried an undertone of absolute authority that came from commanding the most advanced warship any of them had ever encountered. Distinguished visitors from the Galactic Consortium, I am Captain Turner. Representing the Earth Defense Force, I understand that you have been conducting an evaluation of our species to determine our worthiness for membership in your galactic community. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez watched from Kepler Station as the entire diplomatic situation transformed before her eyes. The aliens who had been dismissing human achievements as primitive were now listening with the respect reserved for equals or superiors. Turner continued his transmission with technical details that made alien computer systems work harder than they had in centuries. The UES Defiant is equipped with quantum cascade arrays capable of converting matter directly into energy with 100% efficiency. Our gravity manipulation systems can create controlled singularities with precise targeting capabilities. The dimensional phase generators allow us to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Chief Engineer Maria Santos transmitted detailed specifications that proved the human claims were not exaggerated. The exotic matter drives used principles of physics that even the most advanced alien civilizations were still trying to understand. The metamaterial hull absorbed and converted all forms of electromagnetic radiation with perfect efficiency. Dr. Jennifer Walsh provided scientific data about the quantum field manipulators that maintained stable pockets of altered spacetime around the entire vessel. The technology allowed the Defiant to ignore conventional limitations of physics and operate according to principles that the aliens found theoretically fascinating and practically terrifying. Velter was the first alien delegate to respond. The crystalline being's communication came through the universal translator as a series of mathematical formulas expressing amazement and growing respect. This level of technological development is unprecedented for any species less than 100,000 years old. Your mastery of exotic matter manipulation exceeds our own capabilities despite our civilization being 50 times older than yours. Commander Jake Miller felt a surge of pride as he watched the alien fleet's formation change from aggressive positioning to something that looked more like a respectful greeting. The ships that had surrounded Earth as judges were now arranging themselves as equals, meeting for the first time. Keeper. Thane's response came as harmonics that suggested deep biological changes within the alien's liquid metal structure. The organic integration systems we detect aboard your vessel represent a fusion of biological and technological principles that our scientists have theorized, but never achieved. Your species has accomplished in millennia what has taken us geological ages to approach. Dr. Kevin Stone was recording every detail of the alien responses for future study. The beings who had dismissed human fusion technology and quantum computers as primitive toys were now admitting that humanity had surpassed their own scientific achievements in fundamental ways. The Vorthek delegates' communication required multiple translation matrices to render into human language. The mathematical concepts it was expressing related to dimensional engineering and the manipulation of space-time itself. Even the universal translator could only approximate the alien's amazement at human mastery of exotic physics. Captain Turner's next transmission established the new reality of human-alien relations. The evaluation period you established is now concluded. Earth has demonstrated technological capabilities that meet or exceed galactic standards. We are prepared to discuss terms of partnership with the consortium as equals rather than supplicants. Lieutenant Commander Paul Davis monitored alien communication channels and reported increasing activity between the 12 ships. The visitors were consulting with their home governments and sharing data about human technological capabilities. The tone of their discussions had changed completely from condescending judgment to respectful negotiation. Navigation. Officer Helen Garcia tracked the movement patterns of the alien vessels as they adjusted their positions around Earth. Instead of the controlling formation they had maintained during the evaluation, the ships were now arranged in the diplomatic configuration used for meetings between sovereign powers. Claire Rodriguez realized that her role as Earth's representative had suddenly become much more important. Instead of pleading for humanity's survival, she would now be negotiating the terms of Earth's membership in a galactic civilization. The balance of power had shifted dramatically in humanity's favor. Dr. Lisa Park's instruments were still registering exotic energy signatures from the Defiant, but the readings had stabilized into patterns that suggested the ship was operating in a peaceful monitoring mode rather than combat readiness. The human battleship was demonstrating restraint that impressed the alien observers. Captain Ryan Hayes received new orders from Earth Command through quantum communication systems that the aliens could not intercept. The world government was authorizing full disclosure of human technological capabilities and the beginning of genuine diplomatic negotiations with the Galactic Consortium. Turner's final transmission established humanity's position in the new galactic order. The Earth Defense Force extends an invitation to all consortium members to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. We offer our advanced technologies for peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit. The question now is whether your civilizations are prepared to accept what humanity brings to the galactic community. The alien delegates who had arrived as judges found themselves in the unexpected position of requesting partnership with a species they had planned to contain. The primitive humans they had come to evaluate had revealed themselves as the most technologically advanced civilization any of them had encountered. The UES Defiant maintained its position near Earth as a silent reminder that humanity's strength had never been in pleading for acceptance. It had always been in the relentless drive to exceed every limitation and surpass every expectation that others placed upon them.